clipboard. Manifest. Orders. Messages. Finality. A world being sterilized, robbed of its youth, starved of a future. A sky to darken and never again know the grace of light and life. Mathematics, facts, science, logic, and the death of wisdom. Behind a glass wall, a hand pressed to its endless surface. Then the world retreated in fear. A bowing of it outward, a herald crying in silent terror. The rules were being broken. Something answered. Above the pale blue dot, the keepers of the Long Warp, a tribe so ancient it forgot its own roots, the jungles of its history sealed in rumor and myth, a bedtime story of genetic legacies, a quaint, cozy custom which once safeguarded passages through the dark mysteries of night and forest and future. Gone, a child's talisman no longer desired. Rumor killed by reason. The commander, a tall and monstrous appendage of the new rulers of the pale blue dot, examined the manifest with interest, making a noise of engagement to his subordinate. "Are these figures accurate, Captain?" he asked, and looked to the ruined world below him, startled by the once proud shapes of cities, mountains, potential. Now simply dust swirling on electric fire breezes. Glassy canyons the only proof of their presence, where once stood towers of crafted steel and bureaucracy. The captain, her legacy of dominion and achievement proud and noble, raised her chin, then nodded. "Yes, Commander, it is," she said with distinction. 8.21 billion total, and we managed to secure approximately 2 billion of them as future labor elements. All of them are in the earliest stages of life. The commander's smile was wide and easy. 91 days of conflict, now ended, in exchange for keeping their offspring alive, he said. What were our losses? A moment of contemplative anger, as she replied, 1.996 billion, most of it infantry. He winced, shaking his head. A tragedy. How many of those were from vassal worlds, and what was our actual losses? Another pause, this one somehow more shameful. Initial results, she said, delaying the inevitable, were a breakdown of 95 to 5 on a percentile distribution. It seems that the local forces began targeting our troops to the exclusion of others once they ascertained our regimental structure. It cost them substantially. Sipping from his mug, the commander sighed. Clearly, he said, or they still have their children on their planet. Still, gather what we need and can, then glass the rest of this place. Frankly, I'll be happier when we're out of this sector. He glanced at the polished window of the master deck of the flagship. This world is haunted by idiocy. Walking away, he heard the stifled chuckle and stayed his next stride. One clawed foot angled up to rise from the deck plating, angling his scaled neck to catch the sound's source. Pardon? He asked, and the captain behind her looked up, her expression concerned. Sir? She asked, and looked away from her own clipboard. Is something the matter? Between them, in the air, a voice was audible, sourced in the gap. This is where I come in then, it said, a tone of cold, dispassionate loathing evident. Both of the leading figures on the deck drew their respective sidearms, instinctively following a biological imperative to seek their own, to place their rich spines against one another. A living bulwark against the strangers, the odd, the different. Guns high, they stared at nothing, which stared back with hunger. You steal children, the voice said. It is a sacred crime, that. You rob your enemies of a future. Hope, joy, continuity. Legacies become empty prison cells. Panic began to take root as the voice failed to become manifest, only audible, their hands gripping their communicators. Silently they signaled for aid, backup, escape. Show yourself, the commander said with a snarl. Be not afraid. The voice became a laugh. Not the first time that the phrase was said, it said. It didn't work before either. The laughter became a crueler, mocking tone. "We have vanished this world," the captain said, looking under desk-bound terminals, sweeping for signs and symptoms of the hidden foe, finding no traces. "It's our right of conquest. This world will die in misery." The voice spoke again, much closer somehow, only within a hand's width from her ear and his. "Not yet, nor by your hands. Not while it can be stopped." The bulky doors parted and spiraled open, revealing the armed response team, all 15 members bearing ill will and firepower. "Bear witness," the voice said. "Behold. See who you are in the dark." The lights fell, and the guns raised. Darkness was stabbed 1,000 times, fire bending as weapons discharged and screams echoed. Faces illuminated, then vanishing into smoke, gone before the echo of light faded. The void where once stood the proud and mighty revealed when the world returned from the inky void. On the deck lay 29 boots, all emptied, some askew, most covered in rich, thick blood. Spent casings were in spreads of shiny metals, the weapons which spat them laying in pools. Blood, gore, guts, grease, the fluids of life lost. The commander, his pistol still smouldering, the barrel warping under the heat of rapid discharge, waved it frantically in prayer. No named deity to his scaly lips, only the memory of a myth. The captain's compact rifle, broken from overheating, fell to the deck and broke again. A toy ruined, her gasps of fear doubling with every breath. A boot fell from the ceiling, and both of them screamed in panic. 15 bodies failed to exist, save for the toes and claws. All of the other constituent parts absent, stolen by the inverted night. The voice returned. "Night falls," it said, a whisper in the stillness. "So will you. You forgot your own way, and now I will teach you." A deck away, a door opened, and night fell. Screams rose. The lights returned, and a mess hall full of hands was found, fear finding fertile grounds anew. 3 decks above that, the lights dropped, and the communications hub was silenced with screams in darkness. When the lights returned, the heads of the operators were at their stations, mouths frozen in an idiot grin of fright, eyes wide and unseeing, still listening to the songs of the cosmos through their headsets. And so it went, until the population of the flagship was reduced from 91,6,500 to exactly 100, all scattered in singletons and pairs. No more. Adequate survivors to leave each massacre with witnesses enough. In under a minute the world was smaller, the fear larger, and the void that much angrier for its silent rebuke. The voice returned, and finally it took shape. It walked out of the space between the commander and the captain, landing with silken soft shoes, well dressed, an immaculate example of the fallen species, holding a large wriggling bag over its shoulder. The face of it was horrifying, and their minds struggled to forget it as it was seen, and it captivated them as it spoke again. "Remember," it said, "there are rules. This ship will return and you will bring the rules to your worlds, and you will teach them to each successful generation. Fight a war with warriors, never against the young. The young do not belong to you." It smiled and the world grew dark again. Only a horizon of teeth like stars going nova were visible. They screamed and still they heard it speaking. "Your world didn't have me until you met these, my children. Tell the rest of the cosmos. The boogeyman is real, and you have found it." It walked through the window and into the sunlight, vanishing, riding the beam to the world below, and they were left in their quaking terrors, eyes seeing the dark miracle and truth of it. On the ground, it opened the bag and spilled out 1,000 young, placing them into its shadow with care. The tallest of them, holding a younger hand in each of his own, stared at his eyes and did not flinch. He smiled, shed a tear, and spoke. I am. You are. They're not. It vanished from sight. It remained.